You're listening to the Retail Razor Show, where your expert hosts and their guests cut through the clutter in retail and retail tech to shape the future of retail.
Hello and welcome to a special Season 2, Episode 10 of the Retail Razor Show. This is the first of a multi-part series recorded live and in person at the NRF 2023 show from January 13th to 18th, otherwise known as NRF Week. And I'm your host, Ricardo Belmar.
And I'm your co-host, Casey Golden. Welcome, Retail Razor Show listeners. Retail's favorite podcast for product junkies, commerce technologists, and everyone else in retail and retail tech alike. And for this special bonus, welcome NRF fans to our hot take hashtag NRFLive miniseries.
Well, Casey, this is an incredible treat for listeners and viewers, just like our last episode, our top 10 trends and predictions for 2023. The recordings in this miniseries all happen live and in person, while, about 35,000 or so of our closest retail friends swarmed to New York City.
I just loved recording face-to-face when we're just not these two little squares from the shoulders up on a Zoom screen.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's set the stage here for this series. Lots happening, because not only is this a special live and in-person recording series, but it's also a podcast crossover event.
Wait, really?
Yes, really. We are crossing over with our fellow retail avenger, Jeff Roster, and his This Week in Innovation podcast. Here's what'll happen. So this episode kicks off our hashtag NRF Live series with what may be my absolute favorite podcast recording of our entire run so far.
All-time fave. Like, that's saying a lot. I mean, I adore Jeff, but this is an all-time fave.
Yes, really, of all time. Well, at least until the next one. But,
All right. Well, with that kind of build-up, you'll have to explain a little more. So, spell.
Okay. So late last year, Jeff and I were talking about our NRF plans, comparing how many places we overlapped, and realized it would be a great opportunity to do a series of interviews of super interesting people at NRF, friends we don't often see in person, and just talk trends, talk about what's hot at the show, what's coming next in retail. So the crossover was born, and we thought we'll jointly host these interviews, and then we'll just release them all across both the Retail Razor Show and This Week in Innovation.
Very cool. I'm digging this.
But wait, there's more.
Your best enough, boys.
I'm trying to build up some suspense here.
We're already on the edge of our seat.
So not only is this our first crossover series, but it's also our first sponsored podcast.
Look at our podcast. It's adulting.
Exactly. We didn't realize just how popular we've become. So while Jeff and I were making plans around who we'd try to interview during NRF, there was one important thing we realized. We actually need a really solid place to sit down and record during NRF, because let's face it, the Javits Center isn't the most conducive to podcast recording.
It's not the most conducive for much. So, I mean, I don't think we could do this while sitting in front of Starbucks either.
Right. Exactly. But fortunately for us, our good friends of the show and avid podcast supporters at Avanade made us a really nice offer to use some space in their lounge area on the fourth floor just above the expo hall. So fans of our show may have seen a preview photo of this setup on LinkedIn during NRF, as we posted a few behind-the-scenes pics courtesy of the marketing team at Avanade.
Oh, big shout out to the marketing team at Avanade for their support and for providing such an amazing space. I wish I could have been there for all of these.
Yeah, we definitely missed you for those. And for this episode's recording, we were also fortunate to take advantage of another great spot in one of the conference rooms at the Microsoft Times Square office right after this year's RetailROI Super Saturday event had concluded, right at the same location. So extra fortunate. We happened to run into two very special friends of the show who've been on before. They agreed to sit down with Jeff and me to have an open conversation about our first 2 days at NRF, about what we expected to find, what we might uncover during the show. And to be fair, Jeff and I pitched this as a quick 15-minute recording to them to convince them to do it. And of course, that turned into a nearly 50-minute session, because guess what happens when you have four retail friends get together, haven't seen each other in person in so long?
Yeah, we just don't stop. I'm thinking it would be very much like a Friends TV show, reunion episode. You just keep going and going because there's just so much happening in the industry right now.
You said it. You said it. So we'll be hearing our conversation this episode with none other than retail legend Vicki Cantrell, currently the CEO at Vendors in Partnership and organizer of the VIP Awards event during NRF, plus Ron Thurston, author of the best-selling book Retail Pride and host of the Retail in America podcast and tour. And of course, to top it all off, since we're all Rethink Retail top retail influencers for 2023, just announced at the NRF show.
Absolutely incredible. And I'm so honored to be on the list this year and included. A big congrats all around to everyone for making the cut and sharing their perspectives. Absolutely. And fun fact, this might even surprise some listeners and viewers, but Ron and I met in person for the first time at this NRF show. It's like a pandemic story, right? I mean, after all these years that we've known each other, but this was the first time we actually met face to face in person. Wow, I didn't realize that. I actually met Ron during the pandemic in Dominican Republic.
That's right.
That is just an amazing little fun fact. We forget how often we work with people that we've actually never been IRL with. That's
right. And you'll hear us talk about that in the recording too, because we all had stories that had happened to us just in those first couple of days.
Yeah. I mean, how could we build up this episode any more than we already have? So let's get to it and not keep everyone waiting.
Yes, I totally agree.
I want to point out one more thing.
You didn't just do that, did you?
I did. But first, I want to point out that you've said multiple times now, and I know we told our listeners they could see us on video in episode 1 of this season, but we've had some technical issues plaguing us all season long. This is actually the first one we've released this season with video.
Good point. Good catch, Casey. Yes, we actually do have video this time. And honestly, we have our great friends at Rethink Retail to thank for that. Gabriella Bach, one of the producers at Rethink, was gracious enough to record our conversation on video. And wow, if you're watching the video, you have to pay attention to just how small a conference room that was. I don't know how she managed to stay with us for almost the entire time, carefully walking around the room with video gear. And it was just an amazing effort. We had also told her it was going to be 15 minutes, and she thought, "Oh, great, this will be fun to do." And sure enough, turns into 50. So, what an amazing effort, and thanks so much to Gabrielle and Rethink for doing that for us.
Well, talk about commitment and just incredible continued support. And if you're a careful viewer, you'll also catch another familiar Rethink Retail face in the background taking photos. I won't give away who it is yet, but when we come back, we'll let you in on the scoop.
Okay, well, after this incredibly long intro that we've managed now, maybe our longest yet, let's dive in and listen to what Jeff, Vicki, Ron, and myself had to say about the VIP Awards, RetailROI, NRF in general, and just the state of retail today and what we expect to happen this year. And you'll see why this is quickly my favorite podcast we've ever done.
Amazing.
Hey, everybody. I'm here with Jeff Roster, co-host of This Week in Innovation. And you guessed it, this is part of our crossover series between our two podcasts. How you doing, Jeff?
I am doing fantastic, Ricardo. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. And part of that, I would say, is true for you too, because we are live and in person at the NRF show, which we haven't been in quite some time.
3 years.
Well,
actually, I was here. I was here last year.
You get bonus points for last year.
You
get bonus points for last year.
The startup community came strong last year.
That's true. That's very true. We'll leave that one there. And we are joined by two incredibly wonderful people in the retail industry. Vicki Cantrell. How you doing, Vicki?
Good.
And Ron Thurston.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
So we thought we would just kind of kick things off by talking a little bit about the first couple of events that have started NRF Week this year, starting with Vicki with your event last night as of when we were recording this, the Vendors in Partnership Awards ceremony. Why don't you give us a quick recap of some of the highlights?
Oh, I'd love to. It was really an amazing night. I started this thing 3 years ago, and last night I think we kind of crossed a threshold because the message that I have dreamed about is really taking hold. And it's about how we do business, not who does business with who. And really about problem solving, not solution selling. And the things that really resonated with me last night and the things that people come up and say to me have to do with the fact that I say that, people buy from people, they don't buy from companies. The gratitude that people had when they had to kind of put together their nominations and they realized, they took a breath and said how far they've come and they were able to recognize their teams. These are all the relationship aspects that flowed through the night. Aside from that, it was a beautiful night, beautiful venue, so much love in the room. We sold out.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's a big achievement, yeah.
I kind of liked it when I could move around a little.
I know you do.
Just so you know.
There were people here today.
It wasn't quite as easy moving around this time.
Yeah.
But so we're really thrilled with the evening and a lot of great buzz. And I just believe, I always thought I was pushing a rock uphill to take away this aspect of buyer seller.
Yeah.
But, that rock is moving. And so I'm thrilled.
Yeah, I like the way you put it because I really feel like your event so nicely demonstrate that it is a relationship. It's not just buyer-seller, right? It's a partnership between what we're all collectively trying to achieve.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody in the room is equals, and that's what makes this the most special party. And people are not tired. This is their celebration. This is the celebration for the people that actually run this show and are going to go through a grueling 4 or 5 days that's going to make or break their year, right? And why not? Let's celebrate for what they bring to the industry and what they allow us all to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well said. Well said. Ron, what's your impression so far at I guess I would call this day 2 of NRF Week.
It's day 2 for us.
Yeah.
I don't know about anybody else.
For sure.
Yeah, not for everybody, but for us.
I've known Vicki for, I think, 15 years. So we go way back, Tory Burch years. And Vicki was generous enough last year to invite me to give out an award to Retailer's Favorite. And this year I was nominated. So it was great to just be there and to be, even though I'm not a vendor, I feel like I know so many of the vendors. I've been a retailer. I have so many friends in the room. It's just a joy. It's a joy to be there. And you're right. I think it's early. Everyone dresses up.
Yes.
By Tuesday, I have this feeling, I'll be wearing jeans and T-shirts.
100%.
Sneakers.
100%.
Don't care anymore, but it's a beauaful event.
Thanks.
Beautiful.
Unfortunately, my feet are already cooked, and I'm only on day one. And this I have not factored in. So I got to.
That's true. We're all still learning.
So no sensible shoes then, huh?
I have some.
You can't get enough sensible shoes.
That's
the
true.
takeaway I have from that. Yeah. No matter how much you try. So we're also all here on day 2 at one of my other favorite events of the week, RetailROI's Super Saturday. I was excited to be able to host this event at the Microsoft office in Times Square. Jeff, I think you had some stats you'd like to share maybe on how we did.
Well, very well. That's analyst speak for I think we were well over $320,000.
Yeah, I think it was
the
closer to 350.
350.
Yeah.
Wow. It was the second biggest year revenue-wise. The other observations, crazy energy. So I would agree with, as somebody that was at Vicki's event, the energy was off the charts. That was the big speculation that I was testing in the run-up to NRF series I was doing is, what do you expect? And we were talking about make sure you have, masks and all this and be sensitive to who people, whatever. And that's all, that advice is all still active. But I think people are ready to rock and roll.
The energy is there.
The energy's off the charts.
The energy's there, right?
There's definitely want to be sensitive if people are still have whatever issues, but solid energy. We kind of got a sense of that maybe Wednesday, Thursday. I could start seeing the emails confirmed for VIP, and definitely today for sure. This is day 2 and tons of energy. People want to reconnect. I don't know about you guys, but I've bumped into at least 10 people that I've known virtually
for years now, right?
for years
Even where
now,
we're at,
who I believe I have a legitimate relationship, and I'm like, hey.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely
that's
true.
so
I mean, well, so right,
Absolutely.
Ron and I have now, I don't know each other right, for a
couple of years
now,
yeah,
but this was the first day we finally got to meet in person.
Wow.
It's true. It's really true.
Okay, so I'm shocked because as well as Zoom does things, people look different in person. And like somebody walked in who I've had probably 15 Zooms with, and she was about a foot taller than I expected. She walked in and I thought, and so you don't recognize, it's really something.
So
There's going to be a lot of that this year.
There will be.
Yeah, no doubt. So what's everyone thinking now that we've kind of had a taste of the energy after a couple of events? The full-blown show starts tomorrow. So what is everyone thinking the vibe is going to be on the show floor?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that because of this energy and what I'm hearing just in a few conversations of today and yesterday is, and people are actually saying that, the pandemic, so we're ready to get back out there. They're using this kind of language, and this is solution providers. And for them, that means get back out there. I want to go to events. I want to pick and choose different types of events. I want to get, more involved in different types of things. And today we heard about 2 different vendors who are now heavily involved and didn't know anything about ROI. So when you
that
think
hurt
about
a little bit when she said that, it's like,
yes, but you just, because they are now wanting to be involved in new things, new ways, get back out there. I would say the watch phrase is get back out there, and that's what we're going to see on the floor. That people are going to be looking to, like, am I up to date on technology? Let me stop at all these booths to really feel like I'm connected again.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah. And I think because there's been so much conversation about all the new ideas and all the new technology, you actually need to touch and feel it. Similar to shopping in a retail store. I think I'm excited to go down, innovation lane, and what are all these brands bringing? What's happening? What are some big new ideas?
Yeah.
And a lot of retailers, and I'm sure we'll speak about the Rethink Retail Bash coming up, but the minute I posted of, hey, Rethink Retail's having this, the amount of responses that I received of like, I'd love to go. I'd love to go.
Yes.
The willingness and desire to reconnect is powerful.
Powerful.
Yeah. That's right. So, well, since you brought up the Rethink Retail that I think we're all going to be at Monday night, what other, so day one, official day one, I'll call it, right, for NRF Sunday tomorrow. That's on day 2. Anything else anyone is excited to be going to of the remaining days?
I'm sorry, but I can't not talk about rock and roll retail. I mean,
I'm with you on that one.
That's the other thing where retailers are so embedded in different fun areas of life. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes, they do charity work. They go on trips. Mm-hmm. They play music. They make a band. They
and it all comes together here.
And it all comes together here. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one too. That's another Monday late evening.
Oh my gosh, Monday. Yes. Yeah. Oh, and then of course the retailer insiders.
I was just going to say that one too. Yeah. It'll be my first year attending that.
Yeah. So get ready.
Get ready.
That's a
9 p.m. on a Sunday night. There won't
be a lot of coat and tie at that one. That's a little more raucous for sure. Very good. A lot of people. So it's the energy is clearly here. There's no doubt about it. As ugly and hideous as COVID was, it clearly was a stimulant to innovation. I mean, we tracked that on this week. I think you did it on Retail Razor too. The number of BOPUS setups were just off the charts.
Right.
We now realize low code's a real unique strategic advantage to be able to move faster, more nimbler. And so I think what we're going to see is really, I don't want to say an explosion of innovation, because I would argue, I mean, I've been tracking it for 20 years. I don't think things just explode, but they accelerate. And the ability to innovate, and the fact that startups 3 or 4 or 5 years ago really weren't even, Vicki, when you were there, I mean, you were just starting to bring the startups in.
Yes.
They were always there. I live in Silicon Valley.
Right.
We've been doing startups really since Hewlett and Packard got together in 1938.
Right.
So we're not new to startups, but all of a sudden the industry has said, this is this giant opportunity to showcase this. And this innovation has always been going on. That's why, the big companies have been making acquisitions. But now we're featuring these people. And this is the heart of business is these, and some young entrepreneurs, a lot, not so young entrepreneurs, but that energy, and they're being featured now.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be, I think it's going to be a celebration of innovation is maybe the way I'm going to start phrasing it.
Jeff, I also want to say something about innovation, that overused word. Okay. And because when you say innovation, everybody thinks tech innovation. Okay. But what the last few years have shown us is that innovation is across the board. Innovation on how you speak to each other, innovation on how teams work together, innovation on how you approach something. By the way, low code wouldn't have such a presence if there wasn't innovation in how you do things,
Well, that's the key,
not
isn't it?
just the tech. And so people have really changed how they do business, and that requires innovation of thought and innovation of how you use your people, and because retailers have to be like super agile.
Yeah. And it's only as effective as the adoption normally, which has to happen in a store.
Oh boy, isn't that the truth?
It's the truth. And so there's so much
powerful statement.
New. There's a lot of, I'll say this, there's a lot of people who develop technology that have never worked in retail.
Yes.
And so there's, I know it's a bold
shock,
statement.
Right,
I'm just going to say it.
Shockingly.
We got a whole podcast where we could tell stories. Central office. No, it's not a central office. It's called a store. Please change that on your slide deck.
I
catch a lot of that. And you still see it at the store level.
You do. It's the 50% want to quit their job working in retail stat.
Right. Yeah.
It's those.
I think that.
And so I think there's this whole concept again of what does the store need? Ask the store before you go and develop technology.
Right.
And there's a solution that will be in the innovation aisle this year called Reflex, and they're doing on-demand staffing.
Yeah.
And so this is an actual need that is integral to the success of our industry.
Yeah.
To say that we need on-demand gig economy style retail workforce.
Right.
Because the workforce is demanding it. They're demanding flexibility. So here's someone that's innovating this idea and coming up with new technology. So don't just create something because you think it's a good idea. Ask the people who need this technology and how they'll use it. That's why I'm such a big Ubik fan, who were, also nominated last night.
Yeah.
They really listen to what the stores need.
Yep.
Stores and restaurants need. And that's why the adoption's so high.
Ron, I'll tell you a little secret. There's a bunch of CIOs that the first question they ask a tech vendor is, tell me what you think of my store.
It's a great question.
Yeah, you want to know how many vendors could wash out right out there?
Yep.
A lot.
A lot.
So these people have spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to maybe fly, travel, prepare for a meeting, and they did not go to the physical store and make some observations.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just like a crocodile just ready to pounce because the CIO just first question, tell me what you think. And it's not a trick question.
No.
I was in your store. It seemed busy. It seemed cluttered. It seemed really good. I liked the lighting. It's
right.
easy.
Yeah.
You're telling me you're going to try to do, and you don't know their business. And that's the point you're making. And that's valuable.
Really valuable. I ask that question often of management candidates.
I was going to say.
My office was right here in Times Square. There were 6 Intermix stores in the city. Tell me the store you were in last. And the question could end very quickly.
Yeah.
And so you're right.
Yeah.
It's like, do your homework, learn what's necessary, learn what's important, and then help.
Right.
Help us be better because of it.
Yeah. I think that question is so powerful because to your point, Ron, I've used that myself being on the vendor side in a meeting with a group of retail executives, or I've asked them, well, more from a wanting to learn perspective. I said, well, tell me about your store. Tell me the last time you were in a store and what you thought were the biggest challenges. And I was always surprised. Half the time I asked that question, I couldn't get an answer because I was had a room full of people who couldn't remember the last time they had walked their own stores.
Yeah.
So I think that's to me, is one of the most simplest basic things that everybody in the industry can do, is just, go visit the store.
Yes.
And see what's going on.
Novel idea.
Ask the people that are there what's going wrong.
So simple, right?
Right. It's so
it
simple.
sounds so simple.
Well, we heard some examples today, right?
Right,
In one of
Sharon.
the sessions from Sharon,
True.
from the Undercover Boss
Get
episode.
to the source. It's that simple.
And maybe it's not in New York City. Go, as I have traveled across the country this year, I would be confident to say a lot of those stores in the heartland of this country have never been visited by an executive. I can guarantee it.
Yes.
And so maybe get out of LA, New York,
Right.
and
Don't
go
just visit
visit
the flagship
the
stores.
low volume, not just flag, low volume, and look for those opportunities that are available just by asking questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think there'll be a lot of those questions, hopefully, being asked over the next few days.
Yeah.
So what do you think the big buzzwords for the show are going to be?
Oh, that's a great question, Jeff. Every NRF I come to, it seems in recent years, I always start with, I'm sure this is the year every vendor is going to talk about AI. Mm-hmm. I still kind of chuckle a little bit. I forget which year it was when it seemed like every time I turn around the expo floor, there was a booth with a robot in it. And now I want to kind of walk through and say, where did all the robots go?
Yeah.
They're working. They're in the stores, apparently working, I guess, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I'm actually kind of interested to see what the buzzy words are going to be this time. We're kind of coming out of a year where the first half of the year, the big buzz was all about metaverse. Mm-hmm. I don't expect that to be the one. I think there'll be some. I mean, I still expect to see some Web3 discussion maybe. Mm-hmm. I think there's definitely going to be a lot of maybe new applications, I'll put it that way, to AI. Certainly things talking about pricing. I think that's a big
Seems
discussion.
to be a lot of conversation around pricing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I expect to hear a lot about returns management.
Yeah.
Just given where we're at, that being a solution that
I agree 100%. Just because it's so unsexy, but it's, returns are where profits go to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet, if we're going to talk about being sustainable, I mean, probably the least sustainable process on the planet is returns.
Agreed.
Right.
You ship that thing 8,000 miles or however, you process it, you got it out, and it's coming back, and it's coming back in a far worse condition than it left, and it is a mess, and you're touching it again, and every time you touch, you're hanging another $1 on that thing.
Yeah.
So if we can figure out how, and there were some great conversations today, like, maybe we need to deselect some customers, and if we're going to be serious about being sustainable, why are you returning so much? Is it an issue with sizing, which it clearly is?
Yep.
Is there technology solutions? They're starting to become some, AI models and 3D models and all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can look at. But if somehow we can say, how do we not return 50% or 60% of stuff? That's a huge issue.
That's a huge one. Yeah.
So I love that. So returns. I might debate with you a little bit on metaverse. We'll have to settle up afterwards, but I'm much more of a fan of immersive commerce, which our friend Michael Zucker has
and I agree with that.
Yeah.
So we can talk about augmented reality and not talk about getting
the
into
virtual
some,
reality
crazy.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I will concede one point on metaverse.
One.
I think
I'm getting one.
You'll get one today. Ask me again at the end of the week.
Will, my friend.
I know you will.
I will.
I know you'll hold me to that. I would say the one, because I know there are sessions about this. So that's why I'm going to bring it up. And I've already talked to some folks about it. And I know I see it with our customers and with the partners I work with. One really strong use case for metaverse is digital twins. Especially with the consumer goods brands that we work with, there's lots and lots of interest in that, because you can just have, if you build in the digital twin right, you have your entire operations modeled that you can play around with, come up with new operations, new products without ever having to touch anything physical and incur the cost for that. And you'll know up front, now I built it in that digital twin. Now I know what the outcome is going to be before I build version 1. So I think that's, in my mind, the most valid use case today, because I know you're looking at me, Jeff, and you're thinking there's more to it than that. But
I'm waiting. I'm like a cheetah.
You're fine. I know you're waiting to pounce on me for that one, but I'm going to say that's today's use case for metaverse. All the other ones, I don't know if it's this year. I think they'll come. I'll agree with you on that one. It's coming, but I don't know that it's this year.
This is in that same category of how much you have to pay attention. you have to be paying attention. But come where we are economically and where we are, it's going to be, I'm going to pay attention, but I'm also understand that no bright, shiny objects.
Right.
Okay. And that's where it is still. It's still that.
But you get some of the core pieces. I think that, to me, is the key for some of these. And that's why I keep bringing up the digital twin, because you need a lot of the same core pieces.
You need the pieces.
Yeah, right. You need that fundamental infrastructure
and that's why
so you can build on.
That's why immersive commerce is a superior word to metaverse, because you can get those pieces and you can kind of loop it. Because we as analysts, we have to have something to hang that framework on, because we got to study it, we got to survey it, we got to forecast it. You ain't forecasting metaverse, because that's nonsense.
Right.
It's $22 trillion. Okay, I picked it's ridiculous. What's that based on? But immersive commerce, you can break out AI. Well, you can break out AI as a foundation. You can break out virtual reality, augmented reality, all these components, and now you can build you can build a deal. And I think that's probably a far better way for us to talk about it. And there's absolutely zero energy, pro or con, around that word.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think the guy out in my part of the states maybe kind of mucked up that word just a little bit. I won't say who,
just a little.
But
remain anonymous to protect the innocent.
So we'll have to square up. But I'm thinking augmented reality. We've had it in aviation for 20 years. I've trained in simulators, so the pieces are not there. And I'll tell you the other thing that's the most interesting about this thing is not so much what Nike's doing in whatever the virtual reality world they're doing. I think the best example is what Ulta Cosmetics is doing.
And Roblox.
With Roblox, and they've got a lot of young girls with moms playing in what sure sounds like a metaverse thing. So now you're taking it away from the boys playing World at War, and now you've gone, a far bigger thing, and there's clearly value there. And so that's when I heard that story, and it's actually even a better story than that for to share. But that's telling me, okay, now we've got something.
Yeah. And Ulta's such a great story because
in every way,
because it's accessible. You see it in hundreds of locations. You see it all over the country. You have a very in-store touch, feel, experience it as you want. You have a metaverse, digital, immersive version of it. I think that's what great retail is. It's that incredibly immersive way to think about it, however you choose to experience it.
And that's the point where you're not taking this entire heavy vision and you're just taking out the pieces. I mean, you look at like the smart mirrors that they're doing, where they've actually invested in an AI startup to be able to analyze skin. It sort of started off almost as a medical strategy to determine skin cancers. And all of a sudden, hey, well, you know what? If we analyze skin, then we can better. This is obviously not my area of expertise, but I paid for a lot of this stuff with a daughter and a wife. But I mean, that's heavy duty technology to involved in that business. And the other thing why I just love having Ulta on the pod is they have an investment fund.
Yes.
Okay, we're not talking about Walmart or Amazon now. We're talking, and they're not a small retailer. I mean, they're over $8 billion. So they're high, they're not high. They're a major tier one player. But they've set up an investment firm so they can go invest in the startup community for technologies that are appropriate to their business. And they've already made some acquisitions. And now, the problem I've always had as an analyst using Walmart and now Amazon as an example, everyone says, you give permission people not to pay attention. Oh, I'm not Walmart, I'm not Amazon. Well, $2 billion retail, you afford $1 billion, you can do this. Yeah. Or if you don't understand, somebody else is.
Right.
And that's, we're in the business of being in business. And so innovation, how you look at it, that needs to be in a mindset. Now, I'm not saying spend top dollar, but I am saying start thinking about your business differently. Right. And most importantly, and this goes back to a bus ride. I don't know if you remember in Honduras where we started talking about the era of intentional innovation.
That absolutely right. Absolutely right.
That was more than a few moons ago. But I remember you and I were sitting there just kind of going back and forth, and I was just expressing my frustration that the fact that retailers never ever wanted to talk about the mistakes they made from a technology perspective. As an analyst, that was so difficult because that's how we learn. Well, and then you said, appropriately so. Well, no one wanted to, seem like they failed. And then, being at Gartner and having colleagues in my direct practice that were in other verticals, when I would share that with them, they say, are you crazy? Our greatest successes in manufacturing were failures.
That's right.
In theory. I mean, the 3M example of yellow stick-it notes. That
Post-its,
was Post-its. That was like a failed glue experiment that a guy that was in a choir wanted to be able to have some kind of a glue that he would stick so he could have his notes for singing. And glue that didn't work was perfect. We're one of the few industries that don't celebrate, or at least didn't celebrate our failures. And that, I think, needs to change. And so if I can get senior retail leadership to say, you guys have to push the envelope and you have to be okay. Now, don't break the bank by failing, but fail fast, which is in Silicon Valley. We live by that.
Right.
Fail fast.
It's different now. The mindset is different now. Before, there was a fear of that because it always touched the customer, and the customer was delicate. Now, today's customer, very different. Today's customer lives, breathes, and sleeps and eats with just mess in every retail experience, in every restaurant, life, schools, education, politics. They live in a mess, okay? So they are going to be, and they don't make decisions about where they shop and who they shop with based on whether it was a perfect experience.
Right.
They make it for different reasons. So again, hate to beat a dead horse after 40 years of beating a dead horse. It starts with the customer. And it's not about the customer who's walking in your store. It's about understand the human. What is happening to this human these days? What is their life like? What is their family like? Understand them and then apply your brand to it. Not, here's my brand. Where do I find a person who will like that?
Could not agree more.
It's never been that way. But it takes a long time to get that. And now the consumer, as they always do, is forcing that. So they are messier. So the retailer can be messier and be forgiven. And when the retailer says, I was messy, I'm sorry, have at it. That's great.
Exactly. Isn't that a better customer experience? I'll go to the expert.
Yeah.
If I as a retailer make a mistake, but then I fix it, isn't that better than to that customer? Because then they perceive value in that. They perceived honesty because it is in fact being honest.
Right.
And you have a better experience.
You do. It's authenticity. And I would say the customer appreciates it, but so does the store team. The store team knows when you've done maybe not the right thing. So if the company senior leadership comes back and said, you know what, we screwed up. We didn't make the right decision. We didn't spend money where we should have. And this is what we're going to do differently. What that creates is retention for the store teams, which is probably another R word along with the recession word, which I think will also come up this week. I think employee retention. I know I'm doing a panel tomorrow on that. I think this idea of what do brands need to do to hire, retain, and attract great talent. Yeah. It's another 40-year dead horse, to your point, Vicki, that you and I have been having this conversation also for many years. But it's actually never been more important. Yeah. And it's really hard to say that in 2023. It's critical. Yeah. It will make or break the future of any brand not retaining their talent.
Funny how it has to do with people still after all
it
this
always
time.
comes back
down to people.
Which is good.
Yeah. It's really good. But it's really but it's messy. I love Vicki's word.
You know what's
messy, because managing humans is messy. And it's hard. And which is also why I believe many people don't want to talk about it, because it's really hard. Yeah. And it's emotional, and that emotion is bigger than ever. So that the ability to lead people in an inspiring way has never been harder.
You know what I like about that phrase "messy" is, one of the metaverse technologies, or one of the immersive commerce technologies is live streaming. And now it's a done deal. It's a done deal in China. It's a done deal in Asia Pac, and we just think we're now beginning to experiment with it. My only worry about that is if we try to over produce the live streams. And the example I'll point to is B&H Photo. So B&H Photo, a lot of this equipment is from B&H Photo, just as I look around. And so for folks that don't know who that is, it's just literally the best camera shop in the planet, I would argue. And people are passionate. The salespeople are exactly everyone you would want them to be. Passionate about the product, use the product, are photographers. And so when you go in, you have this amazing experience. Well, I used to, because I live in California and there's only one store and it's right here in Manhattan. You used to have to call in which was okay. And then they started doing text chat, which is actually okay because then they could send links. Well, somebody said, why don't we just put we're a camera store. Put a camera in there. And the first one I did was like 2 years or whatever it was. And it was not a good, I mean, it was a great experience, but it was not a fancy, I mean, it was this is not a great stream, but the content was crazy. And I'm like, this is fantastic. The guy's showing me this. He's pulling out a $3,000 camera lens and a 10,000. Kathy, I put that one back. Okay, I didn't buy that one. And then he brought over a cheaper one. And I'm like, this is crazy. And then, Michael Secor comes into your Clubhouse and he starts talking about what's happening in Asia Pac. And I said, that's a novel idea. Yeah. Why don't we look east? And then I go, wow, okay. Yeah. So my only worry about that is if we try to make it if we overproduce it, I think was the word I was looking for. Yeah. Just let it be authentic. Let it be messy.
Messy.
Let it be
yes.
And you were the one, Vicki, when you were at Tory Burch, I think you were talking about, at some conference, you were talking about like a fashion show or something you did where you had nutty response. I mean, crazy responses, right?
Because we did this test where we had such brand advocates, and it was Path, I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, we went out to our customers and we made them part of the process.
Novel idea. Huh?
Here's 4 buttons. Which one do you like? Okay.
I like that one.
And they feel so in the know. Look, people, again, when I just bang that drum about it's about people and it's about community. They belong to a community. People want to belong. That's what they want.
Right.
Whatever it is. 2 people, 10 people, 5,000 people. And they became part of an insider community by being asked their opinion. It was extremely powerful.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's,
I've never forgotten that story.
Yeah.
So I'll add on to that with one interesting point from one of the sessions today from the GMU consumer study that Gotham has been on the show many times. Preview today.
I haven't got him on my show yet.
I don't know, Jeff. I mean, I don't know.
I can probably help you.
Yeah, maybe Vicki can pull some strings for you, Jeff, and get him on your show. But he's kind of been a regular here.
Maybe that would help.
Wow, that might be it. But
Ron, this is full content.
He likes me too.
Right,
he gives my book to his students. He likes me too.
That's right. Yeah. Here you go. So I think you've missed the boat on that one somehow, Jeff. Yeah. So, but he did mention he had one of those points, if you remember, on the data he previewed about consumer pain points about having a store associate that wasn't helpful or just wasn't around. Right, when they wanted them to be, right? That was, and the reason I bring that one up is because you've been saying this now for half of our recording time, Vicki, about that messy connection, right? And I think, Ron, you may remember we've talked about this before with that store associate being the live streamer because they're the one that has the connection with the customers that shop at that store, which is exactly Jeff's story with B&H, right? Because you know that store. Yep. You are a passionate fan of that store.
I am a
so how could they not get you to buy something through a live stream showing you what it is, what the product is, when you can't be there in the store to physically touch it? So I think that
and it doesn't have to be overproduced.
Exactly. No, it just has to be knowledgeable.
Because it's people working with people.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And that's you've got to tweet out that term messy. If not, I'm stealing it because we need to make that the standard. Don't screw this up.
Right.
Don't overproduce. Sorry, digital media folks, don't overproduce this.
Perfect is the enemy of the good.
Of the good.
Yes.
Make it clean, make it authentic, make it honest.
And I think the best proof point, and we were all talking about this before the mics were on, about how many people have we run into on the second day that we're here, that we all felt like we're talking to them for about 10, 15 minutes until suddenly you realize, this is the first time we're meeting in person because we've only ever seen each other on Zoom calls and Teams calls and all these. We're always just been a square on a screen, but we've done this for so long now. We feel like we have this existing connection.
It's true.
And now we're in person.
It's true.
But, like Ron, we hadn't met in person before.
Until last night.
Until last night.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, to me, is the proof point, right?
Yes.
That that kind of I'll call it sounds negative, but I don't mean it to be negative.
Yes.
Low production value live stream because it's authentic and it's messy.
Right. That's why there's such tremendous buzz. Now that you say that, that's what I'm thinking. It's a combination of seeing the people you've known forever and being so thrilled to see that person.
Yeah.
And at the same exact time, seeing a bunch of people that you've never seen in real life, only digitally. Yeah. So you have this like information overload, right?
Yeah, it's true.
I have a statement. I used to say, like when we were trying to implement systems quickly and let's get it done, I used to say, don't worry, be crappy. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so now we could say, don't worry, be crappy because it's authentic.
Yeah, it's true.
And add the authentic.
Authentic's a good word. For sure.
It is. Yeah.
I think the challenge, though, with some of that I've seen is it's just sometimes one more thing for the store to do.
Yeah.
So I actually think part of the conversation this week I'd like to hear is what are you taking out?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not what are you adding to it, because it's they've been asked to do BOPUS. They've been asked to actually do more returns from web. They've been asked sometimes then to live stream. They've been asked to chat from the website. Mm-hmm. They've been asked to do many different things in stores.
Yeah.
What are you taking away so that the store can be that much better? What can you handle maybe in the office? How do you use staffing in a different way? Right. How do you hire people just to do live stream?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways, but adding more because you're in love with the new technology and the store's like, what the hell?
Yeah. Sharon made such a good point about that today.
She did.
She said you just don't realize that you're kind of piling on. Okay. And
it's cumulative.
When you get to economic hard times and people are being laid off, this one of my least favorite sayings in the world is do more with less. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I've always said, no, that's not what you transition to. What do you do less with less is what you do. Because there's always something to give up that does not hurt you. You just aren't thinking. Mm-hmm. You're not having innovation of thought. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're not looking at those things, those ham theory things that say, oh, why do you do that? Because I've always done it. So do less with less.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you have less, maybe your budget is different in 2023.
Right.
What are your most important priorities?
Exactly.
That are great for your team and great for your customer? And maybe you can't have everything you always dreamed of. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is not the year for it.
Right.
And that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
But you should still come to an NRF show, learn what's happening, to your point, Jeff. Mm-hmm. Don't be one of those brands that didn't pay attention. And we're seeing the news, those that are not making it. Right. They didn't pay attention. So pay attention, but maybe you don't execute everything in 2023.
Right.
And I think it's a thought process that I'm not sure all retailers do.
Yeah.
I think they come here sometimes looking for all the ideas, and then want to execute all of them.
Yeah.
Ron, you're the only voice in this industry for the store associate. I'm trying to think of, is there anybody out there that would have just said what you just said? And the answer is no. I never would have said it because I grew up in a store. I grew up with a World War II combat veteran father who would say you will absolutely do more with less because I did during the Great Depression, but he's not the most scalable person. So you're the only voice that's really even speaking to that. And how important is that? What can you take off the plate? Because it's it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it doesn't always mean that you want to do less. Sometimes you need to do more. But I think it's that point earlier. Listen, learn. What does the customer asking for? What does the team need? Mm-hmm. And then make a decision based on what you've heard. Not the other way around.
Right.
Don't come to a conference call or to a big video call and say, guess what? I went to NRF and we're going into the metaverse. And you have
Please don't say
300 stores on the call going, okay, I can't even be on this call right now because I need to go ring some customers up. And so I think there's this sometimes misconception. And thank you for saying that, Jeff.
No,
I just think
it's just you're such an important voice out there, and you're the only voice out there.
And which is odd to me, as someone just because I came from stores. But if 80% of your revenue, comes from store to store, 80% of the conversation should be about stores. In my opinion. And it's not always the sexiest part, and it's the hardest part.
You know what?
Yeah.
I have never thought of that before.
Yeah.
Because I am willing to bet in technology, 60 to 70% of the conversation is around e-commerce because it's all technology driven.
Right.
I don't know how we would analyze that, but it's got to be that case. I've never thought about it in that regards before.
And most of those people don't come from stores.
Right.
So I think that there's this sometimes, and I do believe in this, and I'm sure Vicki would back me up. Sometimes there's a lack of knowledge about the store, because if you don't come from the store, you're uncomfortable in the environment.
Yes.
You actually don't know what questions to ask.
And you think it's easier than it is.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I would host often, executive teams, or I would say to the office here in Times Square, I'm going to be in Madison Avenue every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Before you come in, meet me at the store. To 150 people in the office.
Right.
I'll be there every day. I will answer all of your questions. I will walk you through the store. You don't have to do anything except listen to the team, and I'll lead the conversation. I could buyers, planners, finance, IT, everybody, my own store team would come and listen and learn. But I did all the work for them, because what happens when people go into stores, they don't actually know what questions
Not
to
a clue.
ask.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't know.
It's
When they're
intimidating.
afraid.
How's your business?
Yeah.
Well, read the
Yeah.
flash. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need me to do that. So I
Yeah.
think that there's this almost fear. There's a
Yeah.
fear of the store
Yeah.
that I'm personally trying to break down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny about that? So I really, once I left my dad's operation and went off to college, I really was never in the stores, but I was in distribution. And what do we have every year in distribution? We had a thing called inventory. And guess what we used to get? Oh, we got all the people from the front office coming to help us. And guess what we did about 3 days after? Fix all the help. So I'm just thinking that, I could really relate to that. The last thing you want to see is, hey, we're from the upfront office. We're here to help.
No, they're very
away.
proud that they work in stores on Black Friday. They're
Exactly.
very proud of that.
Yeah.
Probably causing turmoil.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
Put people in a high stress environment where everyone's on edge.
Right.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah.
So funny. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw out one last thing for us to get some opinions on, because maybe the final piece that I think we are going to hear more about, because the couple of conferences I've been to last year, this came up, and it's been a pattern and a trend, and that's retailers doing more B2B kind of services than just selling to consumers, because it goes right, it's a high margin activity, helps with the revenue, might not be a lot, certainly not in the kind of transactional volume you get from your stores, but taking things that you're good at as a retailer, bundling them up, selling it to other retailers. I'm seeing a lot of that. I think I have to believe we're going to hear and see a good amount of noise about and buzz about that at NRF this week.
I think that there's a couple themes there that play into that. Okay. First of all, this is the best industry in the world, and the most resilient and the most creative and the most agile, because you are dealing with that customer, and every day is different for a retailer. Every day is different. I don't know how else to say it. It's the truth, right? So since every day is different for a retailer, okay, in this world, nobody is doing anything by themselves. You can't be successful by yourself. This is why I talk about partnerships.
Right.
Because what we've seen is the tech world coming together, Spot Solutions, let me add on to this. I can help you. Look at the partner networks. They've grown and grown and grown like crazy, right?
Right.
And same thing with people thinking more partnership oriented. I've just gotten to the point where no one can do it alone, and they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I think that is at the crux of this is, look, if I can't build it, let's go find it. Let's work together.
Right.
So
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I've always said I think technology in retail is much more expensive than it needs to be, because everything is competitive advantage, so we can't share anything. So everything has to be custom developed.
Right.
You don't see that in other verticals.
Yeah.
In manufacturing, the CEOs are all engineers.
You're right.
They just
like,
okay, if we all design a better drill rig, let's just compete on who can get the raw materials to market. Let's not compete on, hey, I've got a unique drill thing. I mean, it's crazy. When I used to try to explain how retail operated inside my Gartner colleagues in other verticals, it was like they would look at us like, you are out of your minds. You are out of your minds.
Wow.
And I get why we are. I mean, in some ways, because we are we saw it in March and April of 2020 how thin the line of civilization is. It's one grocery supply chain. And if that supply chain would have crumbled, if the truckers would have said, hey, listen, everyone's cutting and running, we're going to cut and run too, we'd be having a different conversation right now.
Yeah.
But let's just maybe compete on doing better business and not necessarily on I've designed conveyor some way, super unique. We'd be a better industry if we would do that. We'd be buying technology at a cheaper rate for sure.
Yes.
And I would argue that we're much more similar than we are different.
Of course.
In many ways. And I think that's also often missed, that everyone thinks that their business is so special.
Yeah, it's not.
And they're not. You sell something different.
Yeah.
But the core of actually how this industry operates is not that different. And I do think we have to be more open to learn, open to listen, open to, you're right, maybe it's, I buy it instead of developing it.
Right.
I don't hire someone,
Right.
or you do it in a pop-up and I learn how to do it uniquely. But I do think there's something, I don't know, Jeff, if you agree, there's something that we feel in this industry for every brand I've worked for that no one does it as well as we do.
No, 100%.
We're the best at it. And therefore, I'm not going to share my secrets.
Exactly.
And
And
I'd like to break that down a little bit.
They're not secrets, though. That's the thing. It's like it's like, what is it? The emperor has no clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, it's software.
It's true.
The people that benefit from that, and it's a bit heresy because these are some of my clients, but it's the consultancies who have gotten away with mass customization. And so if we could just absorb technology, and by the way, a lot of software companies say, listen, just accept code at base, and you'll drive the cost down. We'll be able to refresh. So it's that whole mind shift.
Look, remember, people are always going to protect their turf.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay? And when you think,
Right.
not just from a brand perspective, but think about the infrastructure that's inside retail, where you have the heads of departments, okay? And when we tried to break down those silos, okay, and get the communities to work together, because they have to do that to have a great business, people are very protective about their, whatever it is.
Unique knowledge.
Their unique knowledge, their power, their salary, it just goes to your core. And again, when you understand the person, you can deal with it in a better way. But that's, where that comes from, is the protection of not what's mine. And then I've seen where each person thinks about it differently. A marketer is going to be extremely protective.
Mm-hmm.
A digital person is much more open and free about. So how you were raised in the industry it really affects how you react to these things and how you are. Seeing all the groups together, they all have, CIOs have a very different personality. I'm not saying anything up or down. I'm just saying they all have a different personality.
Right.
That's fair.
All totally valid, and why and reason of how they grew up in the industry. And now everybody has to work together.
Yeah.
So you're getting to the core of humanity.
Wow. That's deep. It is.
And it's only day 2.
That's true.
And we're just getting started. Yeah.
We're just getting started.
That is probably a good place to wrap it up. What do you think, Jeff?
Fantastic. I think
Good way to kick off our
I
series?
think so. Some of us have a San Francisco 49er game to go watch.
Yes. Some of us have to go to the next thing.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. There's a lot of next things for the next few days. Well, Vicki, Ron, thanks so much for joining Jeff and myself to kick off this series. I can't think of 2 better people we could have asked to join us for a great retail conversation.
Yeah.
This was very fun.
We need, Ricardo, we need like a little mini Ron podcast studio that we can tow around with.
Right, that's right.
Be like a little 4-foot wide Airstream. That would be awesome.
Airstream to go with us everywhere.
It's more glamorous than this little conference room.
Oh,
that's for
man.
sure.
I tell you what. Gosh, Ron, I can't see an Airstream. Every Airstream I see, I think of you. And there's an Airstream dealership in Morgan Hill, too. And every time I go by that, I go, oh, Ron over there. Good job, man.
Thank you.
Just good job. What a year you've had.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Right.
Ricardo.
Thanks,
Jeff.
Thanks, everybody. Jeff, until the next one.
Yeah, day 3. Let's go.
Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone. Damn, you didn't oversell that intro, Ricardo. Killer discussion. I didn't even notice how long it was. It just had me wanting more and wishing I was in the room.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's definitely getting my vote right now for best episode we've ever done. I mean, there's something to be said for capturing these kind of conversations in person, in a really small room among friends, and just a completely open discussion.
Well, I hope our listeners and viewers enjoyed that. I know I did. I really wish I had been there, but next time.
Next time. Yep. And I'm sure this will not be the last time that you see this group get together for a chat. You can count on that. And we'll bring them back for more in the future.
So for those of you paying attention, if you caught our other Rethink Retail friend in the background, well, if you've guessed it, Julia Raymond, you'd be right. Julia was watching through the glass outside the conference room, taking a few pics. I bet she didn't expect you guys would be there so long either.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. I'm sure she didn't think it would be quite that long. Well, Casey, I think this wraps us up for the first part of our NRF Live miniseries.
Indeed, it does. Stay tuned, everyone, for the rest of the series, and be sure to catch the fun not only on the podcast, but also this week in Innovation, hosted by Jeff Roster. Ricardo, that's a wrap. If you enjoyed the show, please consider giving us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Remember to smash that subscribe button in your favorite podcast player so you don't miss a minute. Want to know more about what we talked about today? Take a look at the show notes for handy links and more deets. I'm your co-host, Casey Golden.
And if you'd like to learn more about us and stay connected, follow us on Twitter at KCC and Ricardo_Belmar, or find us on LinkedIn. Be sure and follow the show on Twitter at RetailRaiser, on LinkedIn, and on our YouTube channel for the latest updates and content. I'm your host, Ricardo Belmar.
Thanks for joining us.
And remember, there's never been a better time to be in retail if you cut through the clutter. Until next time, this is the Retail Razor Show.